1 month to go before the last race of the season, which is gonna be held here in Kiipula at the end of September. Now it's gone 3 weeks since my last start in Korkeakangas, which is a fine traditional surrounding in Veikko Hakulinen's road. And I was really moved and felt privileged to race there because Veikko Hakulinen was a big skiing hero and also a big hero in our family when I grew up. My father was one of the persons, one of the probably hundreds of thousands persons who listened in radio when Veikko Hakulinen won his Olympic gold in Holmenkollen with a legendary time of 3 hours, 33 minutes and 33 seconds. Not to mention the stairs of Antero Kekkonen, who was a great skiing influencer in Korkeakangas, also when I worked there at the beginning of the 2000. I remember he organized a roller skiing event there which had people like Andrus Verpalo and Mika Myllylä and Jari Isometsä participating. And to race as well as I did there, I feel really satisfied. And the same feeling, I think, goes with the whole season so far. I've had 4 starts, all have gone to the plan or even better than I planned. I've raced here several times, and at the end of the September you can imagine that the temperature will be around 0. It's gonna be very cold. Often it's very wet in the terrain, so it's gonna be a demanding race and demanding terrain. I remember last autumn even the top riders were riding 3.5-4 minute kilometer pace, which is really slow compared to the races in the summer. I put this yellow jersey on partly to remind myself that no matter what the conditions are, or no matter what other people are saying, just concentrate on what you're doing, concentrate making the result you're after. I won this in 1989 in Tulvaajot, or flood race as it translates in English. In Seinäjoki it was a 3-day stage race, the opening race of the season, the beginning of April. The conditions were horrible. It was raining, there was snowing in the first 2 days, and on the last day there was still several riders in under 18s that could win the race by winning the last stage. And the last stage was even more horrible than the 2 before it. It was raining, it was snowing, and it was very hard side wind. Even the men were riding with small chain rings on the front, on the flat, just to get forward. And about 1 kilometer from the finish, I remember I saw a sign on the side of the road that the finish is nearing. And I was looking around, okay, who is still here, who is fighting for the victory. There were several super talented Finnish riders, and there was the 3-man team from Russia or Latvia riding under Russian flag because that was before the perestroika. And the Russians were forming a sprint raid in the middle of the road. I took my place in the slipstream. There were also riders on my left side, but the right side was open, and I thought that in the last 50 meters or so I'm going to jump around them on the right side and win the race. Just as we came in the last 100 meters, one of my Finnish competitors, Kai Orpana, who was a hugely talented athlete, had ridden 50 kilometer time trial in 1:06 at the age of 16. Had a big engine. He came zooming past on the right side, closed the door there. There were still riders on the left side, so I thought that okay, I'm gonna finish about honorable 5th place. But just as I thought that, the riders on the left side were fading, dropping out of the picture. So the door opened and I jumped on the left side, and just as we came on the finishing line I threw my bike, looked at the right and realized that I had won Kai Orpana with a tire's length. And that was a really memorable day because about half a year before that, in autumn 1988, I had decided that I'm going to stop playing ice hockey and concentrate on racing cycling. I had raced, but only as a summer hobby. You could say I was very average rider, only winning some small races until then. But I decided that this is the right decision. I'm going to win the next race, whatever it is, and I did that in Seinäjoki. So there's lots of ups and downs here in the sand, in the small gravel, and then we turn right into a rocky single track. And the piece just behind my back that I just rode down is very slippery after a couple of days of heavy rain. It's lots of rocks, it's difficult, and I would have opted to walk it down in last autumn. But now, with better balance, better riding skills and better bike underneath me, I trust to ride it down. So this is the 7th day of a very hard training week, which I have spent mostly on the gym. Started my autumn power exercises, riding indoor bike, and then very slow walking and running exercises. And it's really different to train indoor and to train here on the demanding terrain. Bravery is what you miss, and uphill riding is starting to get worse, really much worse than it was a few weeks ago when I was on a high riding 2 races inside 8 days. So the last month is going to be a bit more easier when it comes to training hours, but much more technically demanding. So a few hours of my Sunday spent in the forest of Kiipula. And just as it was predicted, it's now starting to rain more heavily. The terrain was wet. It was quite hard to ride, even the uphills where the sand and small gravel usually hold well were slippery because it has been raining so hard. Single tracks, of course, with rocks were also technically difficult, and at the end is a very typical piece of terrain in this Kiipula MTB race. That long straight that runs along this ditch is also heavy to ride when it's wet, and it's characterized with small wooden bridges in the middle of it. We used to start it, it was in the beginning of the race, but last year the race course was turned around, so we're probably gonna finish that way.